Hey everyone, it's Dominic the Prime Time Treasure Hunter. Thanks so much for coming by to check out another video. This is the type of video I love to do every month in which I go over the top 10 most expensive items that sold in my eBay store for a particular month. And being that it's December, we're going to cover the month of November 2018. Q4 has been terrific for me. I know it has been for a lot of you. So there's going to be several items that you're going to see here that sold for $100 or more. I'm excited to look back and reflect and go over those with you. It's always a good feeling to do that, and also to share information with you. If you're not in the particular niche areas that I delve into, maybe they'll give you ideas of things that you could look into as well, so you could start incorporating them into your business model and hopefully make some nice sales as well in these areas. So with that being said, I'm going to jump into it right here. We're going to go to number 10 and we're going to work our way back up to number 1. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to drop them down in the comment section down below. You all know I am very responsive and will get back to you. Also, if you have a favorite item that you saw here, be sure to let me know that as well. I'm always curious what people are drawn to and what they like. So let's go here. Number 10. This is the DC Universe Omnibus hardcover book. Now, for those of you who do not know, an omnibus is essentially a collection of individual comic books that are put into one big book. They have them in hardcovers and they have them in softcover paperbacks, but the hardcover ones are the ones that are usually the most sought after and sell for the most money. A lot of the softcover ones won't sell for a lot unless you have a continuous run of them, because they put them out in multiple volumes. You could see here, this is volume 1. Now, volume 1s will tend to sell better than a volume 2 or a volume 3 or a volume 4. Because the volume 1 will tend to get a collector started in a certain area, and then they'll decide if they want to follow it up with other volumes in the set. But so, you know, if you had a whole bunch of books like this, a comic book collector may want to just go out and say, you know what, I don't want to buy all those individual books. I just want to read them in one big book. And so that's what those are for. Now, there's smaller versions of these, which are called trade paperbacks. Those could sell for good money, but the omnibus books itself, which are designed to be much larger, they're much bigger compilations, they could sell for really well. You see here, this one here, it says $54.99, but I did take a best offer for this one. This one ultimately sold for $47.50. I got it for a few bucks at a collectibles haul that I did. The person who sold it to me thought that I wouldn't be able to get more than 30 bucks for it, but I knew better because I had already checked the comps on it and I knew that my price would be the best one. So I kept pretty close to you know, where my where my price is there, where my buy it now price was. But I had best offer on it, so I did a little negotiation with the person, $47.50, close enough to 50 bucks for me since I sourced it low. Very happy with that, and so this one wound up being a great sale. The other thing to tell you about it is the title there, Rebirth. A lot of people ask me with comic books, what type of titles should I look for? What kind of characters should I look for? This one isn't so much about the characters, it's more about the title. So you need to know this title here that says Rebirth. Essentially what that is several years ago, DC Comics decided to relaunch their comic book characters and their books to reset them, or almost all of them, with a #1 issue. So like there would be a Wonder Woman #1 and an Aquaman #1 and a Flash #1 and a Green Lantern #1, that type of thing. And so they also made variant covers for the standard issue. So they'd have the standard issue cover, then they'd have other covers that look different from those. And those variants, those ones that look different, are ones that can go for a lot of money. Depends on the artist involved, and it depends on what you know, what it looks like in terms of what kind of art they put on there. So there's all different things that kind of factor into it. You could look all these up by just typing in a comic book character, type in Rebirth, and then type in variant, and just experiment with that with different DC comic book characters and sort them from highest to lowest, and you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about how valuable some of these variant issues are. So but this one is just, it's a compilation, and it was in great condition. And so as soon as I saw it was Rebirth and Omnibus and Volume 1, those were the things I looked for when I saw that drew me to it, and turned out to be a great flip. So let's go on to the second item here, which is technically number 9. And I have a lot of these. I sourced these at an estate sale. This brand is awesome. If you ever see, and these are small kits, by the way, this is not like some giant kit. I mean, it's literally like this big. It's like a little rectangle. I sell these anywhere, this Frog brand, and I have several of them. This is the B52 Stratofortress, but I have several other ones that I got through this estate haul. I got them for $3 a piece, $3 a piece. And what I do is I have been selling them anywhere between $42.50 and $74.99. It just depends on the on the model and what the market is like at that particular time. This one here, I actually took a best offer of $57.50. But when you're sourcing them for $3, if someone offers you $57.50, that's pretty good. Not too far off from the $64.99. Definitely take it. These are light. They literally weigh 2.3 ounces a box. So they are very cheap to send out first class. Just make sure you protect them between some thick pieces of cardboard you could put in a box or whatever. But keep that weight under 16 ounces, which is pretty easy when it's a 2.3 ounce item. But these are complete kits. One of the things that I have done with these, depending on whether or not, I'll show you something here. The bottom of them, you can see here. Here's the bottom tape. Now, this one here, you can see right there on the bottom, the tape has separated. The one up top, the tape did not separate, but if it's separated, what I've decided to do is open them up and display them like this. So I'll bring this up so you could see a little bit more. And what happens is there's these little cement canisters in here, and the cement canisters will rupture due to age, and so they'll invariably cause some holes in the manuals and stuff like that. But that doesn't ultimately matter too much as long as the set is complete and all the pieces are there. That's really what the collectors want. They don't care about the cement being ruptured because they're just going to use their own cement. These came out in the 1960s, so no one's expecting to use cement from the 1960s. Now, if the tape has not been split on the back, then I just tell them, listen, it's complete, it's never been opened, I guarantee it 100%. And people will make the purchase, and those will tend to be the ones that will go for higher, more like the $74.99s or $69.99 ones. I have a ton of these. They're just stacked up in my garage, and every time I sell one, I just sell another. For those of you who are new to my channel, if you're wondering why I don't just say I have 10 of them, the reason is because if I do that, I flood the market with them, and I do not want to do that. I don't want people just thinking, oh, I have a ton of them, and so I'm desperate to sell them. No, I create pressure within the market myself by just listing one at a time. Then once it sells, then I get another one, I get another one up. So, and people don't know when is going to be the last one. When is the last one that what is the last one that I have left? People won't know that until I actually decide to announce that. And I'll literally say, hey, this is my last one if you've been watching these for a while. So, don't watch it because you're going to watch it go to somebody else. So, just, you got to do things to try to create pressure so you have leverage over the buyer, not the other way around. So make sure you're putting yourself in a good situation to be able to make those sales. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Now, this one turns out I should not have listed. It did sell very quickly, actually. Wound up selling for, it says $99.99, but this one actually I took a best offer and sold it for $75. What this is a vintage World War II military bullet shell projectile from 1943. It has the dates right on the bottom, and it's really, really cool piece. The thing that is the reason why you're not supposed to sell these on eBay, which I didn't know before I listed it, even though it's not live. I'll show you the other side of it. You can see it's just an empty can. So, the way I thought of it was, okay, well, there's nothing in it. No one could use it. There's no gunpowder in it or anything like that. It's not going to explode. Obviously, you can't sell items like that. You can't sell bombs or anything like that on the, or a live missile or something like that on eBay. But being empty, I figure is okay. But technically, their policy is that if it's something that can in some way be reconstituted and filled with stuff, then you're technically not supposed to sell it. Now, I don't know how strict they are with enforcing that. I've never heard of anyone getting in trouble with it before, and there are others who still list and sell these types of items. So, you know, technically you're not supposed to, but, you know, I found out afterwards and it did sell. The reason why I took a best offer of $75 is because there is some damage to the outside of the shell. You can see there's some denting and some curling in of the metal. So for that reason, I said, you know what, it's fine, because this is the one for you, for those of you who have been following me for a while, you've heard me reference for a long time now this collectibles haul that I did where I went into a trailer for someone who worked for Got Junk, and he just had tons of stuff in there and he was just liquidating it, and he was just letting me pull stuff out and throw it in my trunk. He didn't even know practically by the time I filled my trunk everything that was in there. I didn't really even care. He just wanted his trailer filled. So I've already made my money back from this collection a long time ago. And so, you know, if someone's going to offer me $75 for something I basically have nothing into anymore, it's a pretty easy decision to sell it. And so this one wound up selling for $75. So it's a good sale. It's not something you're likely going to come across too often, but just want to throw it out there and show you the types of things that I've been selling over the past month. Now the next one here, I have talked about her before in my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. If you're not a member of that, please make sure you join down below, because I do a be on the lookout item every day, and this is Lady Death. Lady Death is one of the bad girls in the comic book industry, and she will basically use her superpowers and you know, kill people with no compunction. You could see there she's sitting there in a wine glass with you know, with the skull instead of an olive. Oh no, she's got an olive down below, but then she's got a skull above her too for some extra touch. You know, she's got the card, she's got the dice, and this is signed. Where did I get something like this? I got it at an estate sale collectibles haul. This was just sitting there in the room, and I just picked it out and added it to a whole bunch of other art pieces and just bought everything all at once. I have barely anything into this because it was a big lot purchase, and I've already again made my money back on this. And I'm gonna actually show you, because a lot of times I'm showing you this stuff and I'm telling you, oh, I made my money back on it. Oh, I made my money back on it. And then sometimes you may wonder, well, where are the ones where you're making your money back to begin with? And I'm gonna actually show you one of those items later on, so we'll get into that. But this is one it's all profit. I wound up taking a best offer on this one, and we met at $79.99. So this one sold for 80 bucks. Nice set. Look for anything Lady Death. So when I do these items for you and I show them to you, I don't expect that you're going to go out and find this set. Okay, the chances of that happening are extremely, extremely low. But pay attention to the titles. Like over here, I said pay attention to Rebirth. Here I said pay attention to the Frog brand. Okay, so here I want you to pay attention to Lady Death. Write that character's name down. If you see things that are Lady Death, for example, just this morning I sold a Lady Death action figure. I sold a Lady Death Christmas ornament this year. And some of these things I sourced at other locations. I didn't get them all at the same place. So Lady Death, again, very popular, very edgy character, and she's good to know. And if you see her around, look up the comps, because chances are it's something that will sell. All right, let's go into the next one here. Felix the Cat. Now this one, I love this one. If you did not see me source this, you really need to go back to my video. It's not too far back. It's like a couple of weeks ago. It says Epic Estate Sale Haul Day. And I went to an estate sale, and you remember there was this bookshelf, and it was, people had walked by this bookshelf for like several hours. And on the bookshelf, or in part of the bookshelf, there are all these magazines, and then there was this set of manila folders. They look like this. The problem was there were tons of magazines on top of it, and you could not pull out the files to look what was in it. So what you had to do is you had to take out all of the magazines above it, and then you could get to what's down below. Now that does require extra work, but it's amazing. It's not that hard to do, but that little extra bit of work is what creates what amounts to here was $100 purchase. I actually used the offer to watchers to sell this one. So there was a couple people who were watching this, or 3 people actually, and so I sent all of them an offer for $99.99 and figured that that would sell it pretty quickly. Again, I have, if you remember what I got, that I'll save it for you if you didn't watch that video. But I basically wound up spending next to nothing on almost everything that I bought. There was crazy when you see the price at the end of that video. I actually show you the receipt for it too. But this was just, well, I remember when I looked at that manila envelope, I said, you know what, this really piques my interest. I think there's probably something valuable in there because it's on the bottom like that. And sure enough, in the video, you see me open it and I pull it out. And the first thing that I pull out are these Felix the Cat posters. And these were actually posters that you would obtain from a mail away from Dell Comics Club. And some of the sets that I found, like I just sold one the other day, a Roy Rogers one for around 40 bucks. That one came with a little card for Dell Comics, and you could mail away for subscriptions and stuff like that. And so these were great. I was real excited to see them. Felix the Cat, believe it or not, even though you know, he's not on TV anymore, he still has a following. I mean, go and do a search for the comps for Felix. Just type in Felix the Cat and sort it from highest to lowest, and you wouldn't believe some of the prices Felix the Cat artwork goes for example. It's crazy. So if you ever come across anything vintage like this, you see these were from the 1950s, early 1950s, and you could see that by, if it's hard to show you here, but if you zoom in here, on the bottom it says King Features Syndicate. Now, it doesn't have the exact date on them, but I knew they were from the 1950s because the other posters that I got, which were the same exact type, like the Gene Autry ones and the Roy Rogers ones, they were all in that same exact, these all came out at the same time, same era, which was the early 1950s. So great sale overall, very happy with it, especially based on how I wound up sourcing it. That gives me just a lot of pride and putting that work into it, and just, you know, using my eye to, you know, identify that there was something there that was likely valuable. It's like a treasure hunt, and that's one of the reasons I call myself Primetime Treasure Hunter, because I love doing that whole treasure hunt thing, and it's just exciting to find something like that in there. It's just a great feeling. I can't explain it if you're brand new and you haven't done this yet, but you really do just get a rush from doing this. And once you actually sell it, I mean, that's the best part. And you could bring in something like $100 like that to support your family. It's a great thing. All right, so the next ones are all going to be, you know, really nice selling items here as well. We've got 5 more to go. So let's jump into this one. Magic the Gathering cards, Ice Age. Now, in this here, we've got, this lot is 8 original boxes. So we counted up the cards, more than 380. Actually, there's 542. The reason why I put more than 383 is because there are supposed to be 383 cards in this set. And so what I'm doing there strategically is I'm trying to identify people who would do a search for 383 Ice Age cards, because that's what they would type in if they were looking for the set. So I wanted to make sure I threw that number in there, but that I wasn't misleading. So I said more than 383. So that's a strategy, by the way, that you could use to try. You got to think like a buyer. How is a buyer going to search? And once you think that way, try to see if there's a way you could work that into your title somehow. But then I also did make sure I mentioned again, so it's not misleading, because there are some doubles in here, exactly how many cards I have. Now this is an older set of Magic cards, and those older, earlier sets sell for a lot of money, especially if you have them in the original box. I have a setup right now called Mirage that I literally have the price on it for $1,000, and I don't know if I'm going to get exactly $1,000 on it, but I should get somewhat close to it. I'm hoping like 800, 900, something like that. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully that's highlighted in next month's video. But what we did is I actually used the help of Mrs. Primetime here, is that she went through and she sorted them into different types. So we talked about how, you know, whether they're black ones, blue ones, green ones, because they all have different colors on the cards. And then we looked at up ones that were, you know, higher value types of cards. If you don't know how to do that, you go to tcgplayer.com, and that will tell you the values of the cards in the individual sets. So, you know, keep that in mind. That's a way to kind of look up individual card values. And so for ones that were worth more, I actually highlighted how many of those I had to help sell the set. So snow-covered lands, for example, is something that's very popular, which is why I highlighted it and said I had 22 of them. So one thing I want to point out here with the Magic cards is I posted these to my Facebook group recently, and somebody said, you know, I really wish I had your knowledge of comic books and cards. Now, with the comic books, I can understand because that I truly do specialize in and know a lot about that. I've been doing that since I was a kid. But the Magic cards, I have never played Magic the Gathering. Ever. It's not that it's not something I wouldn't be interested in, but I have never played it. And I do not know it to the degree that an expert knows it. But the point is, and I said this recently on my interview with Steve Rakin from Rakin Profits. If you have not seen that, go into the description section. I have a link to it. It's a great interview that I did with Steve. But what I talk about there is you don't have to be the expert in everything. And Steve says that too. You know, you don't. You really don't have to do that. You just have to know that something has potential value so that then you could look into it. So what I knew at the time I got this, and I got this from the person who worked at that Got Junk company. So again, this is all profit. The final sale for this, I took a best offer, $142.50. The key is that I just knew Magic the Gathering, old, original boxes, gotta be valuable. If I could get it at a low price, I'm good. And that's what happened. It was a big lot purchase, as I described earlier, so I wound up being very fortunate in this situation. Same with the Mirage cards. I got them in the same place. But the point is that I'm not an expert in Magic cards, but I still was able to flip it for $142.50, having never played the game in my life. So if I could do this kind of stuff, you can too. I want to give you that inspiration and motivation that you do not have to be the expert in everything. Get some working knowledge, and then start to develop that over time. I tell you, I've learned a lot about these Magic cards over the past year that I never knew before, so I'm in a better position, and that's what you want to do. You want to get yourself slowly into better positions so you just keep accumulating and developing more knowledge over time so that you could bring in lots and lots of money to your business by making great sales like this. Let's go to the next one, Mad Magazines. I've highlighted these over the months since I've been doing these what sold videos, but anytime I could get a large lot of Mad Magazines, I try to get them for $1 or less when I see them, and so ultimately these all I wound up getting probably for about 50 cents a piece, and then I flip them for, I put them all together. I look for ones that are from the 1980s or less, so these are mostly 70s and 80s. Took a best offer, wound up selling these for $110, so wound up being a nice profit overall. Pay attention to how I display them. Strategically, what I do is I make sure I have covers on the bottom that are either the oldest or are ones that are, really ones that would jump out to someone. Let's see if I could hover over it and highlight. So you can see here, I strategically put the oldest one in there, down there at the bottom. I also put in a Star Trek one. Esme will like that one if she's watching. We got Rocky, Superman, Yoda, horror, all sorts of stuff. So, and then what I do is I put them in lots of little smaller lots of 6 so I could display them piece by piece as well. So I've shown this before, but for people who are new, that's what I like to do in my big magazine and comic book collections, is display them like that. Take that one nice overhead shot to psychologically draw people into it and then show them things individually. So, you got that first page to make that first impression, make it count. That's why I make sure the ones they could see full covers of are these ones that, are really kind of iconic types of covers. So Mad will always sell well as long as it's vintage. By vintage, it's 80s or earlier, and you have a large amount of them, they will always sell, even if they have some condition problems. I mean, you don't want ones where the cover's ripped off and totally shredded, but if they have little rips, dings on the edges, little stains, folds, creases, stuff like that, they're still going to sell, because that's the kind of condition almost everyone kept these things in when they were younger. All right, the next 3 here, we've got, let me show you the main picture for this. So this is one that I bought at that estate sale where I told you I bought some of those other comic books earlier. Which one did I tell you from here? Oh, no, sorry, this is the one I got from the same estate sale place. So I picked this up as well. This is just sitting on a bookshelf, I just picked it off. Believe it or not, I got it for a few bucks, and I didn't even know it at the time, but I knew it would be valuable. But turns out that this book is really limited and it's really hard to find. It's The Art of, I'll show you the main page here, The Art of Mark Teixeira. It's a limited edition signed copy, so they only made 400 of them, and one of them just happened to be sitting on this person's bookshelf. And so you can see here, there's the signature right inside there. Only 400. I mean, that's a relatively low number, so that's good. That's going to drive the price up. This one wound up actually selling for the price with the global shipping program. So, you know, I keep laughing every time I hear people making fun of the global shipping program, but I have literally never had an issue with it. I know it had some problems in the beginning when it first got off the ground, but I've had nothing but success with it and would highly suggest it because it would make a lot of money, including Mad Magazine's lots I've sent to Australia, for example, with the global shipping program. So, highly recommended. Mark Teixeira is famous for drawing Vampirella, and he's really just been on a lot of other comics. He's done Masters of the Universe, he's done Spider-Man, he's just done a ton of stuff. So he's kind of all over the place. He started his career actually as a painter, and then he took his painting skills and branched into the comic book world. So that's relatively unique. There's not a lot of comic book artists that are like that. Most of them are sketch artists. But Mark is, not that I know him like on a first name basis or anything, but he is a painter by trade, and so that gives his art, you know, a unique aspect that a lot of others don't have, and so that's why he's popular, and that's why his book wound up selling for $145. All right. This one here, many of you follow me on social media, especially on Instagram, know exactly what this item is. This wound up coming out of the same haul as this one did and as this one did. So this is a comic book series called Gen 13. Many of you have not heard of it before because it's at this point considered, I'd say, somewhat of an obscure title, published through Image Comics, so not through DC or Marvel. It's basically about a kind of edgy female comic book character that was pretty popular, by the way, in the 1990s. So basically what happened with this is that there were a bunch of #1 issues that came out, and what Image tried to do to try to kind of cash in on it is they basically came up with these box sets. One of them's black, that's the common one. Then there's a rare red one that is almost impossible to find. Now, the black ones are actually, the black sets actually have signatures inside of them by certain artists. And so on the back of those black boxes, it's going to say like number 5 of 300 or something like that. You notice this does not say that. It just says AP 0498. It is unknown how many of these red boxes actually were made, which adds to the mystery of it. Now, normally, signed comic books sell for more than unsigned comic books, but this is a situation where there's an exception, because one of the books in here only came out through this in this lot, so it wasn't you know, it was available kind of in this set that they made, a special set. There were 13 that were released previously. Then this 14th one, this kind of bonus one they add in here, and this is Chromium puzzle one here. Now there's this blank variant one as well, which is also different from what's in the black set, because in the black set, this one would typically have a sketch on it and it would be signed by one of the artists. But this one being blank is very, very appealing to a lot of collectors, because now if you get this, you could be one of the only people to get this. Go out and customize how you want it sketched and who you want to sign it, so you will then be one of the only people who has this. In fact, you know, there's really not many of these sets out at all. There's a few of them, but just not many. And then you could send it into like a comic book grading company like CGC, have it graded, and you know, the potential is really huge for how much you want to flip it for. I didn't want to put that type of time into it, and I don't really go to a lot of comic book conventions, you know, in big metropolitan areas. I live in a relatively small area here in Syracuse, New York, and so we have relatively small comic book conventions. So if you want to get access to those bigger collectors, you know, you got to go, you got to get tickets, you got to wait in line, you got to make sure that the certifying organization is nearby. You know, when you don't have anything really into this, I figured the best thing to do was put it up on auction. You could see I got 35 bids, and I figured, you know what, the market will just determine what the price for it is, and there you can see it sold for almost 145 bucks right there. 145.50. So happy overall. Had a little damage to the outside of it, which probably took a little bit of the value down. You can see there's some edge wear and stuff, but inside the books were in remarkable shape. So overall, very happy with this one. That now leads to the number one item, and this is the item that I was referring to earlier, where I talk about this is an item where I get my money back. So this is not an item that I have yet made profit on, but it's part of a strategy that I use to buy big collections of comic books and collectibles, in which I will sometimes go in and target higher ticket items so that I'm paying the person a high amount of money for the overall collection, but as part of the deal, I'm also throwing in a lot of extra stuff so that once I sell off these bigger ticket items, then I make my money on all the extra stuff that I purchase. So, for example, this item here, which is my number one seller, you saw me post this recently on my Facebook group and on my Instagram account. This is a lot of 2 Wolverine #1 books graded by CGC. That's the #1 company out there that grades comic books. And these are respectable grades. Anything above a 9 is considered pretty respectable. So 9.6, 9.2. Ideally, and the 9.8s are the ones that sell for the most. It's very rare to find a 10. But I had a lot of people, believe it or not, who were lowballing me, even though Wolverine is a very popular character. But ultimately, a person who initially offered me 150, then 175, wound up offering me $200 for it, or I counter offered at 200, and I told them I'm not going any lower on it. Had like 5 watchers on it, so there was a lot of interest. People were basically just trying to wait me out on it and see if I'd get impatient with it. But they don't know me well enough because I don't do that, and so I knew that someone was out there who would spend $200 on Wolverine. So this is an iconic cover right here. Anytime you see this, even if you wind up seeing this out in the field in like bad condition or something, pick it up because there's someone who will probably buy it. This one's more common. Not as valuable as this one, but when you combine them both together, that's a unique thing. In terms of how I priced it, I basically looked at what's the lowest price someone has a 9.6 for, and what's the lowest price someone has a 9.2 for. I added them together, factored in the shipping, and then I dropped the price down lower. Because a smart buyer will go out there and price them out individually and then say, well, why should I buy both of them from you if I could just buy them individually from 2 separate buyers and get them for a lower price? So that's how I do it. You know, that brought it over to $200 mark, but gave me a little wiggle room because I was happy to take it for $200. So I spent, in addition to these 2, I wound up buying a lot of other comics as well for a total of $400. So this is basically something that gives me about half of my money back. The other things that I bought, and this is just one example of it here, and I actually currently have these up for sale in my eBay store right now. These are really hard to come by. These are really old Daredevil comic books from the 1960s, and you can see these are the old 12-cent issues. So this is from like 1965 and up. So this here, you could see right over here, this is issue number 10, and then it just works up to, I've got number 11, and we've got number 13. And so I've got these for over $300 right now in my store. And I believe I have a watcher on it already, so I'm excited to sell these. I know they're going to sell well. And the point is to try to be in profit with selling this set. And this goes, there's several more in here. I won't show you all of them, but it goes up to number 28. So it's not all continuous, but there are some continuous ones in there. And so that's what I decided to do. Based on the comps on this, I should do pretty well on it and should be in profit with the 400 with selling these plus those. And then on top of that, I've got a couple of boxes of comic books that are also valuable that I wound up purchasing. So that person who I bought them from was happy to liquidate them for me to get $400 right there on the spot. So, you know, it's less work for that person to list these things, sell them, ship them. I put them up. I use these as these are the items I'm going to get my money back on, and then everything else under it is going to be where all the profit comes from. So I did want to show you an item like that because, like I said, I'm always showing you ones where I'm saying, well, I've already made my money back, I've already made my money back. And so I wanted to show you one where you know, I actually show you one of the items that does give me part of my money back. So this one is not, this is why on the title for this video I didn't say most profitable, because this particular one is not profit yet for the overall collection that I purchased. But ultimately it will factor into it, and you know, overall it's going to be a good purchase. So I hope that you all found this interesting, going through all the different types of items. A lot of people ask me to talk to them about comics, so this is a way I could also get into showing you things about various comic books titles, bring you into some things about the comic book industry. There's a lot of people who are real curious about it, and kind of nervous, and you know, kind of a little scared to get into it. So hopefully some of these things give you some more familiarity. So that's about it for today. I hope you all liked the video. If so, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you come by and join the Facebook group. We've got some exciting seller supporting seller activities this week going on, so you do not want to miss those. We got one going on Wednesday, one going on Friday. So definitely come by and join. It's a lot of fun. We've got well over 4,000 people there now. Come by to my Instagram account. We're itching up there, close to about 1,000 people. Been very happy with how I've been able to reconstitute my Instagram account after it was removed, and so glad to get back up close to that 1,000 mark pretty soon. So come over there. That's at prime_time_treasure. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed yet. Make sure you leave any questions or comments down below. Let me know what your favorite find was, and I'll see you all at the next video, everyone. Take care.